So this week we're going to continue our customary practice of pairing a traditional humanities text with a digital humanities text. Let's start with the digital humanities text. It's a project that digitizes the Green Book, and the Green Book is, a kind of an amazing document of American history, which is maybe slightly better known now, since there's a fairly recent movie about it. Than it used to be. But I think there's like a 2018 or 2019 movie about this brilliant piano player who is a black musician, and he wants to go on tour in the South, and he knows that he's going to be antagonized and harassed and discriminated against, and so he hires a white, kind of thuggish white character who's like a bouncer, who's going to accompany him down south, and they have this challenge of trying to find places where he can stay, restaurants where he can eat, hotels where he's allowed to stay the night, towns where he's not going to be harassed and chased out. And the irony, of course, is that he's like this genius who's there because the people want to listen to his music, but he's also confronting all of this vicious racism, and they rely on this, so this book, anyway, that movie was called The Green Book, and it kind of brought more awareness to the fact that this document existed. But this document, was published every year for years, and as it tells you here, these are pictures of real green books, right? That were published. The Traveler's Green Book, hotels, motels, restaurants, tourist homes, vacation resorts. And it says the Green Book was a travel guide published between 1936 and 1966. So for 30 years. And notice it's publication ends more or less, as the civil rights struggle is reaching its peak. That listed hotels, restaurants, bars, gas station, etc., where Black travelers would be welcome. In other words, if it's not in the Green Book, you would probably assume that you wouldn't be welcome if you're a Black traveler. And so what this project allows you to do, I'll let you experiment with it, but you can put in a couple of cities. We could just stick with New York and Atlanta. So you're going to drive kind of down the Eastern Seaboard. Let's do it in 1956. And it will put together a trip for you, and it will find places where you can stop and eat. And it looks like here we're not going to be able to stop until we get there. And then you can click on these things and get information about them. It seems to me that the 1946 book has a little, or excuse me, 1947 book has a little bit more information in it. I'm not sure why that is, but like here, we click on this, and then we're going to get the page that has the information about that restaurant. And so, of course, why did I think we should look at this project? Because what it does is it communicates viscerally to you, but also intellectually, what it would have, this aspect of what it must have been like, to be Black in America during these years, and you want to take a trip, and you have this fundamental problem that so many people take for granted, which is like, where am I going to get my gasoline? Where am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? Where are there places where once night falls, I may be, attacked just because for being there, So, so what the book does is it is an artifact of that time in American history, not that long ago, when this was true for so many people, and seeing it both, the digitized version of the text, which you can read, and the introduction here, the idea of the Green Book is to give the motorist and tourist a guide, not only of the hotels and tourist homes in all the large cities, but other classifications. Also facts and information that the Negro motorist can use and depend upon. And it says, if we're wrong about a place, let us know, since that would be a big deal. So you can So anyway, I think seeing this adds something to our awareness of this period that is difficult to get otherwise, right? And so we're pairing that with this great essay of James Baldwin's, which is called Notes of a Native Son. I gave you a couple versions of it. I think this is the version I'd like to look at. But so why is it called Notes of a Native Son? Because Native Son is the name of, I think, one of the earliest great African American novels about race in America by Richard Wright. And it's really about, you know, this frustration and um, tragic destiny and also rage. Um, and and particularly in an urban setting, the principal character in Native Son, Bigger Thomas, lives in Chicago, so it addresses this aspect of American experience for Black people that had not much been written about. It's a great novel. So when he calls the essay Notes of a Native Son, it's kind of a tribute to that literary tradition and to that idea of trying to come to terms, as that novel Native Son does, trying to come to terms with what it is to experience injustice and to feel oneself being embittered by that experience and angry, as is inevitable, as with what everyone experiences, when they're treated unfairly. It's at some point anger, is a natural reaction to it. So that's what this essay is about, right? And in particular, it's about James Baldwin's father, the death of his father, very problematic figure, difficult, um, actually quite mentally ill at the end of his life. And and it's also about this Harlem riot, which is a famous riot that one of the most intense race riots in American history, certainly in the 20th century. Ralph Ellison writes about it actually in Invisible Man, another great novel in this literature. Um, this essay addresses, one way to think about it is it's like James Baldwin's kind of coming into, it's not adulthood exactly, but it's like intellectual maturity and coming to understand some really profound things about what it is to inherit this history that he's inheriting and to live in this country with its kind of vicious injustice. Um, so Baldwin is, in my opinion, not that I'm no expert on African American literature, but he's certainly one of the great writers of the 20th century and one of the great public intellectuals. And one of the ways to really feel this is to watch. He was quite frequently interviewed, and you can watch him give speeches and stuff. Um, and his ability to be articulate and eloquent in this fluid, extemporaneous way with no, he's not reading any notes or anything. He's just talking. It's just astounding. I mean, he's such a delight to listen to and such a kind of challenge to listen to and to think about. So, I mean, he's a towering figure, a novelist, but as this person thinks, that whoever wrote this little intro, that that his essays are really the great ones, the best things he wrote. I don't know what's true, but this certainly is a great essay. Um, I think, one way into this essay is to begin by listening to one of the most famous, um, things he said in public, which is in this interview here. He's asked, how does he think about being a Black writer? And I mean, it's a little bit of I don't know, it's not the smartest question that he's asked. And you could kind of almost hear him struggling to maintain his patience, I think. Um, but he says this, which you may have heard.
Own writing, in terms of the self-consciousness of being a Negro and a writer, the polarity.
That's the question.
If it exists.
Well, the first thing the first difficulty is really so simple that it's usually overlooked. To be a Negro in this country can be relatively conscious. Is to be in a state of rage, almost all the time, and in
So you may have heard that. If you've heard anything, of Baldwin, to be a Negro and to be at all conscious in this country is to be in a constant state of rage almost all the time. And, he sounds so calm. And if you go on to listen to the rest of this, he's so thoughtful, reflective, circumspect, calm. But what he's trying to think about is this experience of being embittered and being made angry. And so the essay, tries to describe why I think I linked to this in the course materials for this week in case you want to listen to it. There's also, there's a great film, a fairly recent film called I Am Not Your Negro, which is full of his speeches and some of the things that he wrote toward the very end of his life and his last book that didn't get and never get published. And, I mean, here I am using this word. I'm using this word because this is at the time that Baldwin was writing a contemporary and neutral word. Now it sounds antiquated and maybe a little like a problematic term. But of course it's inevitable to use it when you're quoting him. Okay, so this kind of lays out the materials for this week. Let's talk, briefly about this essay. What I'll do though is I'll do it in a second video just to keep this one from getting too long.